The Wednesday week is sponsored by Bentoria.com. That's BENTORIA.com.
There's a chance here, a great save. Turner from McClare. Might come. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving that.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line we have Eddie.
Here come the art stepper, murderer. I'm a lyrical gangster, murderer. Excuse me, Mr. Officer. I'm back at the Wednesday week.
Hey!
Brilliant.
And we've got Fudge.
Hang on, I'm trying to think of a song. All I've got in my head is First to Believe by A1.
Well, let's not. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's a place.
I'll be the first to believe
You don't need to
in me,
entertain
baby. That's all I had.
We've got James. Hi there, James Oldby.
Evening. All I've got stuck in my head is living next door to Alice for reasons that will become apparent later on.
And we've got Victoria. Hello, my darling.
Hello, my lovely. Same here. I just keep singing it around the house.
Uh,
The half's like, why are you singing that? I'm like, you'll see. You'll see.
I keep singing the rude version as well.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You're just that type of guy, James. Oh boy. Right, so we've got a fair bit to get through this evening, so let's crack straight on, shall we? First things first, the Shrewsbury game. Of course, FA Cup, we are no longer part of that particular competition due to, well, I can't help but say that although Shrewsbury were really quite good, a rather disappointing result, wasn't it?
Is anybody bothered?
No.
I needed to get. I mean, I'm always a big advocate of if we get an easy tie, we get into the next round. But and I know that people will probably berate me for this, and I know it's the cliche thing to say, but surely we do need to concentrate on the league. That is what we need to do. We don't want a cup run. We might lose players. We might lose fitness. We don't want it. We're out of it. Thanks. I'm happy with that.
It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter.
No.
And
I think it
said
does.
that before the game, and I said that when they equalised, it went to 2-2, and I said, you know what? I think I'd rather us lose than have to have a replay. And I got my wish, didn't I? They scored, and when they scored the third, I went, right, well, at least that solves that. No replay, doesn't matter. We're out of the cup. It means that the Preston game's on a Saturday. We've not got a Tuesday night game in the league that we've got to squeeze in somewhere. I didn't kind of account for the fact that, it would be Man United at home, but you don't miss what you never had, so it doesn't matter. Forget it. It doesn't matter.
It wouldn't be Man United at home, though, would it? Because we wouldn't have been the same number.
No, I think we would have
Don't. You're opening a can of worms here. People are going to start talking about the butterfly effect and how the balls would have fallen in a slightly different way. Let's not even go there.
Personally, I quite enjoyed it because, as usual, Victoria's top tips came up trumps, and I cashed out at
Sorry,
80
Victoria's
quid.
what?
Victoria's
Wait.
top tips.
Oh,
Fudge.
sorry. That's
You
fine.
can, if you'd like to see
misheard.
my top tips, you can see those as well. But this
Men,
is a
do you want
family
a beer?
show.
All right.
But yes, £80 up, happy days. Judas money, obviously, cashed out, and we're winning.
Well, I'm going to disagree with all of you because I love the FA Cup. I think it's a magical thing.
It
No,
doesn't matter.
I'm not saying it does, but the quality we have, the squad size we have, and no disrespect to Shrewsbury whatsoever. All the best to Shrewsbury. I think they played second half. They were brilliant, absolutely fantastic. But the size of our squad, our sort of second string, if you like, should have dealt. I'm sure this is probably what Arsenal fans were saying to about us at the beginning of the season. They should have got that taken care of, and I'm pretty much good at it. I really am. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather have promotion, but I can't. I just don't understand why that should have been a problem. I really don't.
All right, there were some individual performances that weren't very good, but what you'd really need to remember about that game is that half the players in our team have never played a single minute of football with each other. They haven't.
I'm sure there are
players in that team that have never. Yeah, but that's not playing in a competitive match, is it? So it was almost like a first game of the season for half of them because they weren't used to playing in the same team as their teammates, and there's always going to be a risk that things go wrong. There was suspect defending. We got caught on the break, effectively caught on the break 3 times. Shrewsbury didn't do a great deal other than that, really. They soaked up the pressure, but they didn't do anything particularly special. And that's the kind of risk that you have when you make, whatever it was, 9 changes. That can happen.
Yeah. The thing that upset me was that off the back of it, yeah, okay, it was for about 20 minutes at 5 o'clock or so, we all had to deal with every single Sheffield United fan that we've ever known crawling out of the woodwork, and it was like they'd won the cup final. And they don't win cup finals because they don't get to cup finals. They don't win finals because they get into playoff finals and they lose all of them. So let's put that aside for 1 minute. The thing that really annoyed me is that the Wednesday fans, when they were talking about, especially when Shrewsbury drew Man U, people were talking about how much money we'd thrown away. £1 million for this cup tie, or the cup run is going to generate this revenue with TV and all that kind of stuff. Actually, I was upset, like you, Lord H. I was upset because we were knocked out of the cup, and the cup is still special. But I accept that the cup is as important as the league. But even given that we're out of the cup, we have to concentrate on the league. The idea that really what we're saying is, look, we've lost £1 million out of not being in that cup tie. Oh, yeah, but look, the money we're going to get when we get to the Premier League is £100 million. That, to me, isn't what football's about. It was about getting beaten by a team that prevented us from getting a really good draw in a cup against a team that we've not played in a long, long time, and a team that we should aspire to playing against. But it's not as important as getting to the Premier League. But getting to the Premier League is not about getting £100 million. Getting to the Premier League is Sheffield Wednesday being back where they belong, playing Manchester United twice a season, as opposed to regarding it like the Cup Kings over at Bramall Lane, something that they should aspire to. One game every season against...
Is it wrong? I want to be in the background going, Lord, lift us up where we belong.
If anyone wants to come to the stage now and be cured of all ailments, yeah, I'm here. No, but look, seriously, that's how I feel. I don't think the FA Cup's as important as it was, but it's still the FA Cup. We still want to be there and give a good account of ourselves, and we want to be in the Premier League, but we don't want to be in either of those things for the money. We're there for the glory.
Yeah, Rally and Cork. Lord, lift us up where we belong.
And of course, I suppose we do have somewhat of a duty to provide some sort of match analysis, I suppose.
Did anybody talk about the game at all then?
That's easy.
No, we're not
That's
bothered.
easy.
See you later.
I mean, there is 2 separate issues here. I mean, the main thing that not so much worried me, but Carlos, he's always made a point of not speaking about referees, and it doesn't get involved. He's always seemed just a little bit too classy about that. Clearly, he was incredibly annoyed at the end of this game because there was quite a strong penalty shout against New Hoop. We all know that Dave doesn't get fouls given against him, never mind penalties. My point is we shouldn't have needed a penalty to win that game, should we? It should have been taken care of. I mean, the first half we controlled it so well. Some of the football we played was brilliant. Lovely to see McGugan back. I'm a big McGugan fan. I'm not quite sure how he's going to end up fitting in the first team squad, if you like. That's sort of still yet to be seen. But it's just odd seeing Carlos like that after that particular decision.
Well, look, it was a penalty all day long. There's no doubt about that at all. And if that's given as it should have been, then chances are we win 3-2 rather than what happens and they go up the other end and score and they win 3-2. Like I've said, I'm not that bothered. I'd rather have us won 3-2 than lost 3-2, of course. But it was what it was. Ultimately, the thing was that our second string wasn't and isn't as good as we probably think it is. We look at it on paper and go, yeah, that's as good as our team was last season. And that actually still might be true. But there were players that were brilliant. Bennett looked very wobbly for his debut. I'm really not sure about Lewis Price. Overall, some suspect defending, although it was a back four that have never played 90 minutes together. Well, they never played 1 minute together, let alone 90 minutes together. I'm a little surprised that people are kind of wetting themselves about McGugan because, all right, he scored 2 goals and they were both good goals. But other than that, he didn't do a great deal. He doesn't put in anything like the work rate of our first choice midfielders, and I can't see how he would be even close to getting anywhere near the first team compared to the midfielders that we've got in the first team now. It was just one of those days.
You mentioned Price, and just quickly, we'll wrap this up in a second, of course. But with the Price situation, I don't think he's a particularly bad goalkeeper. The The penalty, which he actually saved, that was a defending error. Everybody learns from being a schoolboy as a defender that you're running after a penalty. The fact that the striker was the first person there is just bang out of order. That's a defensive error. Price gets a lot of hammer, and I don't think he's a terrible keeper. But again, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that disagree with that, and I mean, clearly you're wrong. But but again, one of those things. But I think we've covered that enough. It was a bad day at the office. We'll put it down.
I'll tell you what, Lord H, your rant there was Merson-esque on talking about John Stones. Then that was impressive. That was.
Taught him everything he knows, Obin. Every single thing he knows. So let's crack on, shall we? And of course, we had another game this week, the Burnley match. Again, this was a one I was, as we mentioned last week, of course, rather worried about. Burnley are a very good Championship side, and I was laying this as a sort of a levelling post to see exactly where we were for this season. And within the first 3 minutes, I was starting to fear the worst, if I'm honest.
Very good doesn't do them justice, my lord. They were the best team that's been at Hillsborough this season by an absolute mile. They were fantastic. The only little downside they had was that there was a kid in midfield, don't know who he was, looked a bit greasy, a bit old, weird beard.
Just described.
Cried a bit, tripped a few people up.
Quite dirty.
Thinks he's intelligent, but actually he's an absolute scumbag. I think it's Joseph Barton. Other than that, they were awesome.
Can I just say now that before the game even kicked off, I knew we weren't going to win because we've gone back to blue nets.
Oh no, no stripes.
Oh,
no stripes. The last game at home against Leeds, blue and white nets, we win.
I remember you said that was a thing weeks ago.
We don't win. Yep, the last time we had blue nets before this was when we lost 3-1 at home to Middlesbrough. Someone, the groundsman, whoever made that decision, it's your fault and your fault alone as to why we did not win that game. That goal after 3 minutes, that's not going in if those nets are blue and white. Rubbish.
I wonder if you can actually see your angle a bit better as well when it's a blue net. I bet that's the reason, I bet it is actually the blue nets.
Well, it bloody worked for Andre Gray in the first 3 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves a blue net.
He'd have done well to miss that, though, wouldn't he?
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was fair.
It was five seconds of madness, wasn't it? And that was it. It was just 5 seconds where defensively we more or less switched off. And if you do that against a team like Burnley, they're gonna score a goal because they are quality right throughout their team.
And you know what? On the Clarets Week podcast that is being recorded tonight, they are having the exact same conversation about the goal that we scored. Because literally, they were carbon copies of each other. It was just, the game started. We should probably start focusing on defending. Oh no, the other team have scored. And that's pretty much how the game went. Apart from that, it was heavy hit after heavy hit. It was two of the best teams in the Championship playing good football, going at it. And it was beautiful to watch at times.
It was brilliant.
Is anybody like me not concerned? But I think that might be a poor choice of words. But I know we're a lot stronger now than what we were at the early part of the season. But we don't seem to have picked up a lot of points against the top 6. And these should be teams, if we're serious about promotion, we should be turning up to a lot more. Now, obviously, like let's say, for example, Middlesbrough, I didn't think we were unlucky, but they shut us out completely. And I don't think we really had a game plan to turn it round. We've got beaten by Ipswich. Do you know what I mean? Derby have took points off us. Is anybody else a bit wary of that fact?
But the highlights probably didn't do us any justice. We had probably 5 or 6 shots last night that were probably 3-4 inches over the bar or outside the goal. We were proper on it last night, and we matched them man for man. We really, really did. And I genuinely believe last night was a showing of what is to come. And we were up there. We were just as good as them, if not better, because we were both as good as each other. I think it was a very, very fair result. I think both teams were brilliant. If I'd have been a neutral watching it on Sky Sports, I wouldn't have turned it off. I thought it was a great game, and anyone could have clinched it within the last couple of minutes. Anybody.
At times, the football was absolutely scintillating. It was as fast and as adept a passing football experience as we've had at Hillsborough for a long, long time. They brought the best out in us. Especially in the midfield, there was an interplay between Bannon and Forestieri and Wallace and Lee that was just scary at times. And then all of our threat for the vast majority of the game came down the flanks as well. There was an awful lot of pace. Hunt was absolutely on fire going forward. Poodle took a real bad knock at the end of the first half, but he still soldiered on and put in a real shift. And to be honest, Atinuiu had a very, very good game doing what he does best. And I think if there was one thing that we could complain about, it's actually that because we were forced to put Sam Hutchison in at centre-back, Forestieri was isolated a little bit, and that we didn't get the ball to him enough out on that left-hand side. In the middle, we absolutely dominated. This is a very, very good team with big name players, and we basically shut them down for the vast majority of the game. And Barry Bannon took liberties there. He made players look very, very ordinary, and he had approximately 18 shots from 30 yards trying to get his goal of the season, contender number 6. So,
does anyone agree though that Joey Barton last night? Obviously,
I'm aware of his work.
It's Joey Barton. None of us would complain at signing him 3-4 years ago. We wouldn't have done. I don't like the guy in any sense of the word. But do you think last night that little clip at Kieran Lee was a bit of a, you look a bit like me, you run a bit like me, but you're a lot better than me. I'm going to trip you up right now.
Yeah, Kieran Lee is what Joey Barton was when he was on his way up.
Yeah, definitely.
But now Joey Barton's on his way down.
But if you watch the way they run, they both run exactly the same.
Yeah, totally.
Their eye for the game is spot on, both of them. But Kieran Lee's just got that little bit of youth on his side. Not a lot of youth, because he's 27, 28 like me. But because I know, isn't his username like 1988 on Twitter or something? So I presume he's the same age as me. I thought he's just
that's not
trying
the
to get a
porn
fake
star
ID.
of the same name, is it?
But he did.
Because I remember when we first signed him, I googled him, and wow, beggars belief what I found on the interweb.
He is not that Kieran Lee. No, not the porn star. But no,
Wow.
I think last night he absolutely showed Joey Barton what Joey Barton used to be. And I think although Joey went for him, I believe that he went for him because he was a little bit sort of looking back to his past and looking at the way that someone could have hacked him down 5-10 years ago and he'd have reacted. But actually Kieran Lee doesn't have that side to him.
I mean, I have seen the reports on Twitter of Joey Barton getting a bit of a knock himself from Hutch, and a bit of a bad one, and apparently got up, shook hands, didn't make too much of a big deal out of it.
What about when Hugh took him down? Didn't shake his hand, did he?
Well,
No,
yeah.
refused.
I'm not trying to defend Joey Barton in any way, shape or form. I am trying to be devil's advocate. That's all. It's my job to try and keep you chaps and chapettes in check, just so we don't get sued. But no, all in all, I think looking at the Clarets hashtag as well, they have very, very similar feelings to the game as what we did. A good point against a good team. I think all in all, that's basically the roundup of the game, isn't it?
It was a brilliant game. The only thing that would have made it better was it had been a Saturday afternoon.
And how good on our new amazing, super sexy video screen did the new Sheffield Wednesday logo look? They made a point of putting it up there, spinning repeatedly for
constantly.
Constantly at all times. But I'm not being funny. I'm one of these people who looked at it and thought, "Oh, that looks a bit old-fashioned, doesn't it? How can that possibly reflect a modern, forward-thinking football club?" But when you saw it as like a 3D graphic spinning round on an HD screen, I tell you what, I got a little bit aroused.
When you saw it next to Burnley's, it looked like a proper football badge.
It did, didn't it?
It did.
But this one's got eyelashes. It's got lashes on its eyes. It's 3D and eyelashes.
I understand that the owl looks a little bit spacky, right? Okay.
A bit spacky. It looks like a 4-year-old's drawn it. In
it
fact,
does.
Get your daughter to draw me a picture of an owl, and we'll make that the badge.
She'll draw that one. In fact, I'm almost certain that Mr. Channiversary tried to kidnap her at York in pre-season, specifically because he thought she was the one who had drawn that owl badge.
I bet it looks better than what should belong on the Gryffindor sorting hat.
I want to know what's going to happen to the seats on the Kop that make out the old, what is now the old owl logo.
Good point.
Are they just going to rearrange those so that it looks a little bit like the new one, or does that mean that this summer the whole Kop's been reseated?
It wouldn't surprise me if they'd not even thought about it.
Putting in new seats every year.
There's kids in Ethiopia with nothing to seat on.
They'd love those seats. They'd love them.
They've all got them. They've now got carrier bags that they've written Messi 10 on with marker, and they've got a million seats. They've got the world's biggest stadium just made up of seats that have been discarded by Premier League teams with too much money.
Reebok seating.
I think actually one of my favourite photos on the internet is the kids in Ethiopia, and one of them has got Rita's hen do Blackpool 2011 walking while she's off to the well to collect some water to keep her family alive. Rita, well done. She's feeling good about herself having donated a T-shirt.
Right, if I may try to pull this back to Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, what we're talking about?
I have no idea anymore. I know there was something about a badge, which we did last week. There was something about something else.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't around. But the badge looks so much this week. The badge looks amazing. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. That's
Gryffindor.
my part now. Yeah, I choose you. No, that's Pokemon. That's different again. Right. Anyway, off we go.
Of course, before the Burnley game, there was some presents waiting there for you, wasn't there, Vic and Jen?
Sure were.
Of course, this week sees our joint effort with our friends over there at the Facebook group The Kop End. You can also find them on Twitter as well, of course, at The Kop End, for our Bannon week. And you had some wonderful Bannon masks, didn't you?
They were actually really, really good. Or really bad, depending which way you look upon it, which made them really, really good. I did. He's quite spotty, is Barry Bannon. I've never seen a picture of him.
I think it's a very bad photo.
So
if that was me, I'd be screwing.
It is a bad photo. If you go to either the Wednesday week or my Twitter, there are some photos of a point during our Periscope video from the game where I had the mask on and Vic's mum's hat and Vic's mum's glasses. To make some kind of, like horrendous Barry Bannon drag queen.
That sounds truly terrifying.
It is terrifying, but also fantastic. So have a look at that. But the mask is brilliant.
The fact was that James couldn't see it. James was like, I don't know what everyone's laughing at. What are they all laughing at? We showed him afterwards. Like, what the is that?
Send us your pictures. What's more terrifying? The David Bowie mural in Division Street or James wearing this one?
I know, absolutely brilliant. And of course, Cleggy over there at the Kop End Facebook group did a brilliant job with those masks. I've seen various pictures of people wearing them over on the social medias as well. If you don't see the video of James doing that as well, if you pop over to our Periscope page, I think it's on there for about a week as well. So please do that. It's absolutely hilarious. Has to be said this week as well, after the Burnley game, Mr. Bannon himself donated his shirt from the Burnley game. And again, if you pop over there to the Kop End Facebook group, you can actually win Mr. Bannon's Match 1 shirt from that game as well to help us celebrate Bannon Week. And our little contribution to this festivity, shall we say, is of course we put a competition on there ourselves for a Barry Bannon song. There were some wonderful entries. There really were, including Barry Bannon, which was just a little bit too short for us to do. Various other bits and bobs as well.
Yeah. That one, that's got to win, surely.
That had to win.
Employees of the groups unfortunately can't enter the competitions.
Employees? Give me a laugh. Get a muff out of this. A muff. And a massive broadband bill.
But of course we did have a winner, and if I may be so bold, we shall present that to you now. Carlos got a call saying, have you heard? Bannon is up for transfer from Palace. So he rushed to speak with Mr. Chancery. He said we need this fella in our team. And just a few weeks later, Bazza arrived. Oh, Villa didn't want him, Palace let him go. They must have had their reasons, but now they're thinking no! 'Cause for 16 years we've been looking for a player like Bannon, Barry Chuffin Bannon. Watch him play the ball, he'll put you in a trance. On more than one occasion, I think I've wet my pants, 'cause for 16 years we've been looking for a player like Bannon. Barry Chuffin Bannon. So there you go, ladies and gents. Mr. Bannon's wonderful Bannon Week song. Again, I can't thank everybody that sent those over there enough. It was a really, really fun time had by all. The post itself came from somebody who had heard it from somebody else called Oliver. So whomever you are, Oliver, thank you very, very much for that. We have added our own sort of Wednesday week ness into there, shall we say. And I do hope everybody enjoyed it thoroughly to help us celebrate Bannon Week.
Well, as I said earlier, that song's now ruined my life.
Yep. Singing it all night. Singing it since this morning.
I'm just going around now singing songs about friends of mine that have become transsexuals.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Is that what the song's about?
No, that was the he did an alternative version, which was about. So like my mate I've got to get used to calling my mate Bernie Alice.
I think you'll find it was a track by a progressive rock group Smokey from the 70s, and what happened was he used to sing it in his shows, Chubby Brown, and used to put the Who the F is Alice in it, and then he re-released it in the 90s with some words about tucking it in.
Oh God!
That was the best description ever.
Just to ensure there's no misunderstanding here, when we're talking about connecting Barry Bannon with transgender, what we're really saying is that he can play on both sides.
Oh,
you know what I mean? He's very versatile right across the park. If
look
you
at
know
that.
what we're saying.
Eddie's been away for a couple of weeks, and the professionals are back. Of course, if you do keep an eye out over the podcast Twitter page, you'll see a video pop up for the one as well. And of course, by all means, pop over there to the Cop End Facebook group as well. And I'm sure our new friend Cleggy will pop the video up there as well. And do keep an eye out on hashtag Bannon Week for more festivities before this week ends. Oh no. Jeeves, we're going to need some more equipment.
Then you need to speak to Oddballs, a speciality.
What the?
Oddballs, a speciality deal in steel, food, and engineering equipment.
Where's that voice coming from?
We offer great deals on all types of equipment and can include dismantling, delivery, and erection anywhere in the world.
Did he just say erection?
We can also buy your surplus equipment or sell it on commission. With over 30 years' experience, let us achieve the best deal for you.
Where can I find out more, Voice in the Sky?
Go to www.ventoria.com.
You heard him, folks. Jeeves, get a broom. Right then, ladies and gents, so let's crack on. And of course, we've just finished the transfer window, and it's been a bit of a busy one, really, hasn't it? Luckily, we've got somewhat of a transfer window expert on the line with us. So we've only kind of got Dom Howson on with us. Hi there, Dom, old boy. How the devil are you?
I'm not too bad. I wouldn't go as far as saying I'm an expert, but I'll take a compliment anyway.
Expert, professional, yeah, same thing.
more of an expert than we are.
To be fair,
Yeah,
everybody
better out than in, as we always say. That's our transfer window motto.
So yeah, it's been a sort of a busy week. If we speak about this last week before we speak about the whole sort of thing, and first thing we need to speak about that we haven't yet. Of course, it seems old news now, but the Gary Hooper is now a Wednesday player for the next 3.5 years.
Yeah, fantastic news. Really, the last 5-6 weeks we've started to see the real Gary Hooper and done the business. I still think that he can improve his hold-up play, and I still think that there's things that he can improve and will get better, but he's looking so much sharper now, really, since the turn of the year, and you can't argue with 7 goals. I think he's got in 7 games, and he is that goal scorer the club have not had, really, haven't they? For like the last couple of years. So I think it's a big plus, really.
Dom, would you agree that since that first time we saw him at Charlton, that he seems to have lost about a stone in weight? I mean, I appreciate, he's looking a lot sharper, don't get me wrong, but is Carlos big on his fitness? Because, I mean, clearly he's not carrying as much timber as what he was before.
I think, to be honest with you, it's as simple as he wasn't playing any football for a couple of months, and the only way you get fit is by playing games. It's stating the obvious, but that's I think that's just what it is.
Bloody hell, that's where I'm going wrong.
Yeah, you're not playing enough games, Vic. That's what it is. You want to get trimmed for that wedding? We need to stick you up front for the house.
I know, right wing.
I've been trying to lose, I know how Gary Hooper feels. I've been trying to lose a bit of timber myself since, in 2016. So, I think it's just such a big coup, really. And I know how hard they worked behind the scenes to get that one done. I think they literally just spent the entire week before the deadline closed just trying to get the Hooper one sorted out, and they were absolutely desperate for him to play against Reading, and he didn't do too badly at Reading, did he? So it was worth the wait, put it that way.
Did you sense that there was some frustration in the Wednesday camp that first maybe month of his initial loan, where in terms of fitness it wasn't quite there, and obviously he was working hard, but he didn't make an immediate impact, did he? Did you feel that was kind of weighing heavily on Carlos's mind, the mind of those in the club, or did you feel like they always had him on loan with a view that it was going to be a little bit of a project to get him back up to speed?
I wouldn't say it was weighing on Carlos's mind, but obviously when you've brought in a player of that pedigree, you know that you've got to stick with him. And certainly there was that period where it did take him a little while to get up to speed. There's no question about that. But I think it was one of those where you knew it was a matter of time because he's got that much quality. So I think there wasn't really frustration. I wouldn't have said behind the scenes over it, but it just was one of those things. Some players can come in and hit the ground running straight away, can't they? I think Connor Wickham did that a few years ago, but it doesn't always work out like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's nice to see. I was his biggest critic, but it looks as though he's finally coming on. It's not a great. It's the last two games, but we've spoken about that already. And of course, the next chap that's popped in this week, which is a little bit more fresh, is Mr. McGreedy from Everton on loan. Of course, he's been a bit out of favour at Everton, hasn't he? The Everton fans that we've seen on the social medias have not his biggest fans, shall we say, but he's a highly rated player, isn't he, Dom?
Oh yeah, definitely. The thing is that Everton have got so much competition, particularly in those wide areas. They've got half a dozen, 7 players, fighting for really 2 positions, haven't they, on the right and the left. So, I think that's what made it very difficult for McGeady. But you look at his background and you just think that if Wednesday can get the best out of him, that again he can be a huge asset for them in the next couple of months. I do have reservations. It's similar to Gary Hooper again, where I know he came on late against Burnley, but up to that point he's only had 45 minutes of club football this season. So you do wonder about how long it's going to take him again to really hit top gear, and we've now got 17 games left, and really, Wednesday can't afford to be carrying any passengers. Not that I'm suggesting for 1 minute that McGeady will be, but they need people to come in straight away and make an impact.
How do you see it shaking out, Dom, in terms of, we've talked on this podcast an awful lot about, the embarrassment of riches we have in midfield. How do you see McGeady fitting in the pecking order?
I would think that he'd be dipped in and out, but it's such a tricky one because they have, as you say, the composition of that midfield. They really have got a lot of options in there, especially with Sam Hutchinson doing so well at centre back.
John, what do you think his best position is, Hutch? While you're on there, centre back or that holding midfield role?
I did actually ask Carlos that question, and he did his classic dodging it really. I think it might be centre half. Yeah, I think so. It's a tricky one because I just think that he brings so much drive and enthusiasm and aggression to that midfield, but he does look a bit more at times a walking yellow card, doesn't he? As we've seen with his 12 that he's already picked up this season. So. I think centre back. He's just good in the air, reads the game well. I do quite like him in there, and again, but it's hard because you want your centre backs to be really sort of the first names on the team sheet, I think, and so you want that combination, don't you, at centre back of where you want the reliability, and you look at Hutchinson's history. He can't play 3 games in a week. He still hasn't ever done that for Sheffield Wednesday. So that for me is where the slight issue is with playing Hutchinson at centre back.
Dom, if we just go back a couple of months or whatever it was to September when the last transfer window closed, and we had David Garrido on then, who was telling us that Wednesday were working, incredibly hard behind the scenes on deadline day, trying to get the striker in that they wanted, and it just wasn't happening. And there was maybe a little bit of inexperience on Mr. Chansiri's part about how it works on deadline day. What was your kind of view about how things were done this time? Were there any deals that they were trying to do, but were kind of hitting a brick wall with?
Well, I think Mr. Chansiri has certainly learned as he's gone on. Now being in English football for just over a year, and speaking to him recently, he does get incredibly frustrated. Still, even now, with dealing with agents, because in his eyes, if you shake on a deal, then that's the deal done. Whereas he's finding in English football, sometimes you're having to shake on transfer 4 or 5 times with the agents because they are moving the goalposts, and so they're making things difficult. And so he's had to learn that pretty quickly. He's got his global advisors who give him lots of assistance when it comes to the transfer dealings. And I think really McGeady, I can tell you this much. I know that they were working on McGeady, that deal, the whole of January. That took a month's work to get McGeady through the door. That's how.
What was the stopping on that? What was the slow off?
Well, the simple fact is that McGeady, there was a big part of him that didn't want to drop down to the Championship. He wanted really to stay in the Premier League, and obviously he's fighting to get into that Republic of Ireland squad for this summer's European Championships. And so he was weighing up his options. And so that's sometimes how it works out in the transfer market. You just have to bide your time and wait for that opportunity to get your man.
Was there another club sniffing?
Blackburn, I know, were very interested in, and I know also that Steve Evans at Leeds United is a big admirer of McGeady.
He's a big admirer of anything that we're linked to be fair.
He's a big admirer of Leeds, isn't he? Because basically what he came out is if Aidan McGeady is going to drop down, in fact, if any player is going to drop down out of the Premier League, then obviously their first stop is Leeds, and if we don't want them, they'll go somewhere else. Turns out he's full.
Is that the rule? Is it, Ed? Is that the rule of thumb?
The rule according to Steve Evans, isn't it? But there you go. He's a man who sews his own Leeds United badge on his oversized sports.
That is wonderful. That is one of the greatest stories I've ever read.
Can I just ask you then before we let you go? So you're talking about Wednesday. You're saying we and us and whatever else. So presumably you are a Wednesday fan.
I'm not actually, but
no.
But obviously I've done this job now for a year and a half. You can't not but grow and sort of fall in love with the club really and get a big affinity. And so really, it's all Wednesday. That's pretty much what's on my mind every single day, most hours of the day. So you have to throw yourself into this job because it is pretty full throttle, and obviously people want news like yourself, and you've got readership to serve. And so no, I it's one of them where. Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, I have a very big, you can't not have a big soft spot for them when you cover them, day in, day out, and every week. So, obviously I'm very much hoping that it'd be great from a professional point of view as well as, personal. If Wednesday do get promoted this season, I think they've got a great chance as well because I think they've assembled a really good squad.
Can we ask who you did support growing up, or...?
Growing up, it is actually Huddersfield.
We don't mind Huddersfield. We share
No,
Andy
well,
Booth.
yeah.
It's fun.
They're not one of the big of the Yorkshire clubs, to be fair. So they're certainly not massive, are they? So
Still unbeaten now, aren't they? After all those years, still
About 15 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing.
not since they let Jordan Rhodes go, I don't think.
So, sort of all in all, obviously, with the whole transfer window, if you like, obviously, Lubens, Hutch, Bannon, Atty, all signing new contracts. Again, obviously, we've had players go. Wiggins has gone. There has been jokes and things, mainly by me, if I'm honest, on Twitter about that. Just to clear that up now, I like Wiggins. I don't think he did too much wrong whilst he was there. But his agent is an absolute magician getting him moved to the Premiership. That's just brilliant. And of course, Mr. Bush has popped off on loan to a Serie B club as well, hasn't he? So I think that's going to do him the world of good, and hopefully we'll see him in a Wednesday shirt again when that has come to an end. But all in all, Dom, do you think the business that Wednesday have done this transfer season has been positive?
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I don't really think that they've got too much wrong. I think, was it 18 players now? I think that have been signed since the summer. So you've got 2 players fighting for each position. Lots of competition. Yeah, I don't think. I still think that a central midfielder, defensive midfielder, that is who I still think that they are looking to bring in somebody. So I would expect that they could be busy when the loan market reopens next week. I would think that they could be pretty active again, bringing in at least one more player. I think that's who they still feel that they're a bit short in. But no, other than that, really, I think they've got all the bases covered. I also know privately that I don't think Mr. Chancery's given up on the top 2 just yet.
Ah, fantastic! I'm sure that's cracking for all.
Was that an exclusive there? Was that a Wednesday week exclusive?
Yeah, you can have that if you want, yeah, baby. Yeah.
It depends if we get
very
a shout.
ambitious, put it that way. Yeah.
Well, of course, if you do want to catch up with Dom's other tweetage, etc., where can we find you online, Dom? First of all, obviously we'll find you in the Sheffield Star, but apart from that, where can we get you online?
Twitter @Dom Howson. I'd give you my email address, but I've got a feeling that you guys would probably bombard me every single day with wanting gossip, so I might skip that one.
I'd just send really bad pornography.
Oh, of yourself?
Well, if need be, if I run out, yeah, you got to
keep it to yourself.
I've met your missus, and that's now weird. I've got visions in my head of you sending Dom, you and your missus at it to his email, and every day Eddie's been on.
We were doing so well at being professional whilst we had a professional, and then it just all went to pot at the end. Dom, thank you so much for popping on and joining. It's been a pleasure speaking to you all, Bean.
Yeah,
Cheers,
no
Dom.
problem anytime.
Thank you, Dom.
All the best, Dom. Thank you. Bye. Right, so let's just have a little bit of a sort of a hark back to the Wednesday news. There's a couple of things we need to mention. First of all, Mr. Chancery, it's his it has been his 1-year anniversary. It seems to have flown by, that, doesn't it? It really does. But we can't argue. It's been a cracking year, hasn't it?
Can we, from this point forward, refer to it as the Channiversary?
Oh, I like
amazing.
He's here all week, driving.
One whole week I've been working on that. One whole week. No, I did steal that off Twitter, actually.
But still, it was incredibly funny. No, but the club itself, if we look at where we were and where we are now in that 1 year, and just think about the changes that have happened, it is utterly incredible, isn't it, what he's done in a year?
It's beyond phenomenal. It really is. We are just a completely different football club to where we were a year ago. And that's not to say that we were being badly run under Milan Mandaric, because I don't think we were, but he was doing things very differently. He had, very different aims and ambitions and a very different agenda. And then in comes Mr. Chancery. We didn't know a great deal about him, and I think we were all quite right to be a little reserved and think, this is a guy that himself admitted wasn't a huge football fan, didn't really know about the game.
I had those same reservations. I genuinely thought, well, Christ, what's he going to do? Is it a vanity project?
And even then, the first few months it was a bit strange because he set up the transfer committee was one of the first things that he did, and we were all like, well, that could be good. But that didn't kind of mean anything. It was all about putting his money where his mouth is, you like, and showing what he's going to do. And by God, he's done that, hasn't he? He's done the pitch, he's done the scoreboard, both things that we've been saying for for years that need doing, other improvements to the ground, and in terms of management recruitment and in terms of player recruitment, we can't fault it. Our entire squad cost something like £10 million, which is as much as Middlesbrough spent on Jordan Rhodes on deadline day. He's done some incredible business to put together the team that he's put together.
I think he's proven two things. Number one, that he's no clown when it comes to running a football club. And I think that, as you said, that was the main worry when we saw this, the management committee and all this sort of stuff. You thought, you don't really know what you're doing, do you, Mr. Chairman? But the fact is, he knows exactly what he wants to get out of this club in terms of the style of play, in terms of the sort of players, in terms of the energy that the fans can give. He's very, very demanding with all that, and he's very, very single-minded. But also, he's proven that he's an absolutely class businessman.
I've grown to sort of fancy him a bit now. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a chancerism.
Yeah.
Is it because he looks like Gangnam Style?
I thought you said you weren't going to do a race.
Be careful, Fudge.
It's as if Thailand and Korea aren't even the same country.
Oh, well, yeah. No,
Listen, no disrespect whatsoever, but no, this last year has been just incredible. It's like being back in the 90s again for us old people. It's just wonderful to have that magical feeling about the club and just feeling that we're actually going somewhere instead of just struggling along and making ends meet and just be excited about it all. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
We've done it in a modern way. Does that make sense? I think because the way the football is now and the way it was back then, more people bought British players and it wasn't so much of a business and a brand and stuff like that. And but I think we've kind of brought the glory days back, but we've gone about it in a proper way in terms of the way that the game is nowadays. Does that make sense?
5 years ago today, this very day, 5 years ago, Alan Irvine was relieved of his duties as Wednesday head coach. So that's how far we've come. We've gone from Alan Irvine to Gary Megson to Dave Jones to I don't know who that bloke is that we've got now. But we've also gone from Darren Potter and Darren Pearce and everybody else called Darren to the team that we've got now. And how ridiculous is that in the space of a few time hop days, we're cheering on a team that is legitimately the most exciting and the most talented that we've had since the mid-90s. And that's, the mid-90s is 20 years ago now. We're talking about.
Don't say that.
It's like being.
Ed, why?
It's like being back in the 90s. The only thing that my daily routine has in common now with the early 90s is that I still watch a lot of Baywatch.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Purely for the fashion and the cars you like, innit?
That and Gladiators.
Mate, Sharon Davies tweeted a picture of herself the other day in her Amazon uniform. Well, that was me done.
And of course,
a wooga indeed.
Right then, ladies and gentlemen. So the last little bit of Wednesday news we have, it's a bit of a congratulations to the fans, actually. There was a Bluebell Wood appeal at the Derby game. It's all been counted and collected and everything's done, and the bucket collection outside of the Derby game for Bluebell Wood managed to raise £1,749 and 36 pence. So a jolly big pat back for everybody that threw their pennies in that bucket.
Can you hear me clapping? I'm clapping. That's me clapping.
How's that last home match of the season, guys? Right. So who wants a free ticket?
Well,
everybody.
Yes.
Anyone?
Why? What you saying, Vic?
All I'm saying is there may well be an opportunity to have a free ticket for the last match of the season. I only have 24 to give away. All you have to do is hold a bucket, represent Cavendish Cancer Care, and you have got a free ticket to the last match of the season. So at me on my usual Twitters at Victoria1867, and there you go. You've got a ticket.
And doing good work all at the same time as well.
Exactamundo.
Of course, it has to be said that there was a steerings group meeting as well, wasn't there, James?
There was, yeah. It's almost old news now because it's like nearly a week ago. But some really interesting stuff to come out of that. As ever, I think that the management of the club are very honest and very open at these things, and there was some interesting stuff that came from it. I think everyone probably already knows it all, so we'll not spend ages going over it. But there are quite a few kind of blog posts. I think there's one on the Cop End. I think there's one on Owls Online, and a couple of the other blogs and forums as well. Quite a few posts kind of outlining exactly what was said. So if you've not had a look, it is worth it because there's some interesting stuff in there.
Do you think we'll ever get invited to a steering's group meeting one day? Do you think they'd allow us through the door?
No.
Well, if we turned up with that waving our muffs around and et cetera, et cetera.
Why aren't we? Why haven't we been invited? I can see the fucking North Stand from my attic.
You don't get invited. You have to
Do you
apply.
not?
We're far too lazy for all that kind of nonsense.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't be doing with that.
The Wednesday week is proud to be associated with Cavendish Cancer Care. Cavendish is a Sheffield charity dedicated to improving the quality of life for people living with cancer. No one should face cancer alone, so Cavendish provides emotional support through counselling and complementary therapies. The services they provide are free of charge and are funded through donations. If you can help or would like to find out more information, you can go to www.cavcare.org.uk. That's CAVCARE.org.uk. Right, so let's crack on then, shall we, ladies and gents? We've got a bit more Wednesday news to go at. First things first, it's cracking that we've had some brilliant news about Tom Lees and, of course, Mr. Turner having a game for under 21. So hopefully it shan't be long before we see Tom Lees back in his rightful position at centre-back. And I think he's been a bit missed, hasn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can't come soon enough, can it? Because as I think we saw in patches last night, not only do we suffer from not having that competition in at the centre back positions, actually taking Sam Hutchison out of the midfield and backfilling him into central defence, it makes us a less dominant team in midfield, and that's been a huge key to the success we had early in the season. So it can't come soon enough, and brilliant to see that both of those boys came through the under-21s game, and Tom Lee's just bossed it by just chipping in with a goal as well. So get back into the team now, please, lads.
Absolutely, and it's going to bring up the debate as well eventually of who's going to play with him. But again, that's another chat for another day. But
that's another day. I'm glad he's back because I think that, like I touched on earlier, the fixtures coming through the next few weeks are pretty tasty. I think away at Birmingham, even though we made them look amateurish on Boxing Day, is going to be a difficult affair because I think they just had an off day at the office. They are exactly the same points as us, and I think they're going to give us a game down at St Andrews. And then we're at home to Brentford, who haven't managed to recreate the form of last year, but they're still 10th. They're not shy of scoring the odd goal. Preston, not so much, but then QPR, Hull. You know what I mean? These are teams that are not going to be easy to beat, and let's not sugarcoat it. Including the Shrewsbury game, we haven't won in 3 games, and I think we need to stop it off at the back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, although we haven't won, if you like, it's not as though we've been sort of dropping points here, there, and everywhere either, is it? It's a really odd one at the moment, but we could do with a bit of sort of other than the Shrewsbury game. We are unbeaten in 2016, aren't we?
If you look at those teams that are up there, and Burnley last night, I think, as Vic said, the best team to come to Hillsborough. There's quality right up there. I don't want to be tempting fate, but if you look at who the odd man out is in that elite group of teams that are chasing the playoffs, it looks on paper like it's Birmingham. I'm not going there with trepidation like we did when we went to Burnley, or like we did when we went to Middlesbrough over Christmas. This is a team that's there to be beaten. They're on a good run of form, but we've got to be better than them, haven't we? We've got to be aspiring to the 3 points for this one.
Yeah, well, we know that, don't we? Because somehow, and I don't know how it's fallen like this, it's only about about a month since we actually last played them. So the can't have kind of changed too much in that time. I don't know how the fixture computer has thrown this one up, because it was Boxing Day, wasn't it, when we played
It
at
was
Hillsborough?
Boxing Day. We made them look terrible.
And it's now start
they
of
were awful.
February, so it's about 5-6 weeks since we last played them, and we're playing them again. So we know we've got nothing to fear, because we absolutely wiped them all over the park.
But bear in mind, Raider Johnson told us to be aware of Jacques McGowan, didn't he? He came on this show and he said, You've pissed off my mate. You've annoyed him, and he wants to get one up over on you. That's what he said.
Therefore, what we need to do is boo even louder.
Even louder, just so he gets really sad and plays like he did in Hillsborough.
Let's make him cry. We could all be proud as Wednesday fans if we could make a grown man cry. Let's do it.
You're a bunch of meanies, you lot. You really, really are. No, of course, it's going to be an interesting that one. And if we can win that particular game and sort of grab those 3 points, as Fudge said, both on 47 points at the time of recording at the moment, but then below that, there's a bit of a drop to 44. So if we can start opening that gap up at that point, and again, as long as we're on the right side of that gap, it can only be a good thing, really, for our promotion hopes for this season.
I think it's really important that we get 3 points there, and I know that's a bit of a silly thing to say because it's putting pressure on ourselves. But as Fudge pointed out earlier on, we've not taken a huge amount of points from the other teams that are up there or thereabouts, around us, certainly above us, and I think we've got to now start proving our credentials for being in the top 6, and that means that we've got to start racking up some points. We can't afford to leave this to the last minute when it's kind of mathematically possible, if we win and Ipswich lose or something, that we can sneak last place on the 6th place on the last day of the season. I thought before we went into this little kind of collection of games against Burnley, Birmingham and Brentford, the 3 Bs, I thought if we could take 7 points from those games, that's a good return. I still think that's a good return, but that means we've got to go to Birmingham and we've got to win.
Would it be too much to ask for Ipswich to stop bloody scoring last-minute goals and ruining everything for us?
In every chuffing game
Is it legitimately like 8 games in a row? So, yeah, how's about that? How's about that for a change?
Chuffing tractor boy, mother chuffers.
I bloody hate Ipswich, I really do. It's a really crap place, really crap football club. It's just crap.
Right then, ladies and gents, so that's going to bring us to an end for this evening. Of course, we've got a full complement of weekers this week. So, Eddie, first of all, if people want to find your sausage arm type nonsense, where can we do that, all be?
Yeah, you will find me at Sausage Arms on Twitter. But you'll also find me at most Wednesday home games. So I'm still there with my my little Wednesday week business cards. I've given away 3 so far to people who have come up and gone, are you that Victoria off Wednesday podcast?
There's a similarity there, I'm not going to lie.
Well, when you share bodily fluids, you take on the... no, I can't go there. Anyway, so at Sausage Arms on Twitter...
Fantastic. Fudge, old boy.
Do you know what? I've been sat there trying to think of a gag for the end, and I was going to go with my Twitter handle's Dan Fudge if you want to get involved. But if you do want to meet me in person, I'll be there at the Brentford game, but also I'll be on Division Street with a tub of paint. But I think Eddie's beating in the gag stakes there, so you can have that one.
James, old boy, where can people find hold of you over there on Twitteridge?
On Twitter, I am at James Marriott. I'll be at Birmingham on Saturday. I think we're rolling in about 10:30 and we're very organised, we're heading to a pub called the Wellington, where I think we're just going to barricade ourselves in and stay there until kick-off, for the reason being because Villa are also at home to Norwich on the same day, so there are going to be 4 different sets of football fans all in the same city centre.
Jesus.
And there's some kind of EDL march also taking place in Birmingham. So we're getting
James, why are you going there?
We're getting in because we're idiots. Because we're going to get in the pub, get in the corner of the pub, hide, drink a lot, and that's it.
There's another place where you can find James this week as well. There's a bit of a video popping around with yourself and Victoria on there, isn't there, Albin?
There is, yes. I think we mentioned this. before the Leeds game, some guys that are involved in a YouTube channel called The 72 Review, they came up and they did some filming in the Riverside pub, they did some filming in the ground and some more filming afterwards with various Wednesday fans and some Leeds fans, unfortunately, all about who top dog in Yorkshire is and about the resurgence of Wednesday and the opposite at Leeds. That video is now available to watch online. So if you just search YouTube for the 72 Review, or I have, as we speak, I have just tweeted it from the Wednesday Week Twitter account. So have a look there. I'll stick it on the Facebook page as well. And you can see quite a lot more of Victoria than there is of me. She's a lot more photogenic,
I was going to
it must
say,
be said.
Don't watch the video, or watch it with just your headphones.
I think you look lovely, darling. Lovely, darling.
Yeah, you would. I'm not your type.
You always look beautiful, sweetie pie. If people want to see pictures of you, where can we do that online, my dear?
Well, my picture, Christ is probably on X Hamster and UJ's.
I'm sorry, I don't know what any of those websites are.
It's on my script that Eddie sent me. No, I'm on @Victoria1867 on Twitter and the Facebooks and whatever else.
Fantastic. Of course, you can get hold of me over there on Twitter at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. You can get hold of the podcast at TWWcast. Send us an email. We've not had one of those for a while, actually. And that's at TWWpodcast@gmail.com. Get us on the Facebooks. Also, pop over there to the Cop End and see how you can win your Bannon shirt as well over there. And all the rest of the festivities we're having for Bannon Week as well. Of course, we're on YouTube. Subscribe on iTunes and get us over there on the Podbean app as well. Ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure as always. Be good, be safe, and we shall see you real soon.
There's a chance here, a great save. A turner from McClare. Might come. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Rexman against Jones. Get in. You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble with saving that.
Absolutely. So if you fancy that, or anything else you'd like to ask Victoria about her buckets, do make sure you use that.
I'm trying to do my bit for charity, you know.
It's carry on the Wednesday week. Oh, Victoria, you've got some buckets.
Sorry, Lord H, that was brilliant. I enjoyed that.
Right.
Can we mention in the outtakes again that it's for Cavendish Cancer Care? Get in touch with me on Twitter.